Esau, the father of the Edomites. Esau was a twin brother of Jacob. Both of them, Esau and Jacob, were the sons of Isaac, and Isaac was the son of Abraham. So he come from that lineage, okay? And also it goes even further back. They're from the lineage of Eber and also the lineage of Shem. All right, so Esau, um, uh, between the two twins, Esau and Jacob, he was the first that came out of the womb, and he was described as being hairy and red-haired. As he grew up, he became a hunter in the hunting game of animals, and he also had three wives. Um, the story was, when he came out of the womb, his brother held his heel, signifying that his brother would take his birthright. And the story, as they got older, there was one time that he went out hunting and was so hungry, and his brother was home, cooked a good lentil meal, and he was so hungry, and he wanted his brother to give him some, and his brother said, ask him to give him his birthright. And he didn't think too big of a deal to it. He said, yeah, go ahead, take my birthright. I'm just hungry. Go ahead and give me something to eat. So um, he announced that he could have his birthright. And then an exchange took place. Jacob gave him a lentil of soup. And it came to the point where when Isaac, as he has gotten older, is getting to the time for him to leave this earth, is the custom, back then where especially from uh, the people of the lineage of Shem, they were accustomed to pass down their blessings to um, the next king, right? The next of king, right? Those who would take their inheritance, especially the firstborn. So Isaac was ready to go ahead and give that blessing, as he's let Esau know. He told him to the forest and get him a game of animals and prepare a meal. And after he eats that, he will bless him, right? And as Esau went, his mother, Jacob, um, his mother, Rebecca heard it, and she told Jacob to go get some goat, so she could prepare the meal that her father would want, because her intent was for Jacob to take on that blessing, and then put the skin of that goat aside that she would use to wrap around his arm to appear as hairy, because at that time Isaac was blind. He couldn't see well. You know, his eyes was more dim. I would say that he couldn't see well, um, and so it came to the point where after she's prepared a meal, she gave it um, to Jacob to bring the food to Isaac, and Jacob brought it, and Jacob brought the food to Isaac, and Isaac enjoyed the food and called him to bless him, and he told him to come closer. And then as Jacob came closer, he realized, he felt his hand, his hands, it was unusual. you know he was a little bit suspicious that it might not be Esau. um However, he went ahead and blessed him, right? And blessed him as the firstborn, and him being fruitful, and all the blessings that the firstborn should receive. And then Esau later on came and was ready to and prepared the meal and brought it to Isaac to get the blessings, not knowing that his brother, his younger brother, who he sold his birthright to, have taken that blessing. And so he asked his dad, to eat and to get the blessing. He said, I thought we already did this. And no, he said, no. I just came back from hunting game of animal and prepared the meal that you told me. And he said, no. you've already came and I've already blessed you. So why are we doing this again? So Esau later on realized that his brother has taken his birthright, that he didn't see as a big deal, you know. He was bitter, angry, and was ready to go kill his brother. And Rebecca had to inform his brother to flee out of the house, right? So he fled, and so Esau, being so bitter and angry, um, he was also start being rebellious, So he took on, women from other nations, because according to the Hebrews, they were always encouraged to marry among their lineage, So um, he took on. He married a Hittite and Ishmaelite woman. And he had three wives. First wife was Ada. That was his first wife, and the next one was Bama, Aholibama, and the other one is Basemat, the third. Okay, and Aholibama is the second wife. All right, so and it's very interesting. Ada in the Igbo language is actually means first daughter. So it's very interesting that that's his first wife's name. Um, but yeah, so Ada, it says Adah. It might not have had with the H, but in the Igbo it was without the H. But yeah, so yeah, he went to Mount Seir. That's where um, the population and descendants of his people mostly lived in Mount Seir. Okay, Mountain Seir. Okay, so and they're known as the Edomites, those of Edom. Okay, coming from those of Esau. Okay, so the Edomites. So he's the father of the Edomites. They would say progenitor, right? That started it all. Um, and so yeah, he was definitely melanated man. And he was a twin brother to Jacob, and he was hairy and red-haired. Um, so, um, but yeah, it's very interesting. Um, and through him, that the whole nation uh, started. Okay, and Edom was also uh, one of the said enemies to Israel. You know, eventually between the two brothers, there was forgiveness that took place. When as they have gotten older, it got to one point where they crossed paths again, and Jacob thought he was still angry at him, but he forgave him. He realized his Esau forgave him, and so though they've had as a nation too, Israel and Edom, there was still a connection there, but there was still a peace between the nations as well. At one point, it mentioned in the scriptures too. You know, though they've had many fights amongst each other, but there's also um, um, a peace that happened between the two as well as the nations, Israel and Edom. But yeah, they both, mainly Esau, forgave his brother Jacob, and also Jacob, reunited with his brother. So forgiveness is very important, and also to move with love, So, but yeah, just wanted to share this with y'all. This is some illustration of Esau and his family, his three wives, and they moved towards Mountain Seir. That's where his whole descendants lived and mainly were. Okay. Also, the book of Jasher that's mentioned in Joshua chapter 10, verse 13, as well as 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 18, also gives information about Esau as well, and his family. All right, and the people, from Mount Seir. So thank y'all for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Bless y'all. Shalom and shalom.